If you ever spent time at the beach as a kid, you probably remember that specific, satisfying feeling of digging a hole in wet sand. You keep scooping until your arms are deep in the cold earth, right up until the very moment the walls lose their structural integrity and the whole thing collapses inward. That tiny, temporary tunnel is an excellent representation of our historical relationship with the underground. For most of human history, we have barely scratched the surface. In Western culture, the standard metric for a deep hole is just 6 feet. That depth didn't come out of nowhere. It was a mandate set by the mayor of London in 1665, acting on the belief that a 6-foot barrier of dirt would stop the bubonic plague from spreading to the surface. Even when someone dedicates their entire life to digging, the physical limit of human muscle is incredibly strict. In the 1960s, a London man named William Little began burrowing beneath his own house. He dug constantly for more than 40 years, clearing out an extensive web of tunnels. But despite a lifetime of labor, he only managed to reach 26 feet down. But those are the limits of the human body. What happens when we put down the shovels and deploy the full mechanical force of modern industrial technology to pierce the planet? Our comfortable surface world is merely a thin crust. Today, we are going to leave the daylight behind and begin a continuous, meter-by-meter descent to find the absolute physical limit of human engineering. The first 1,000 feet directly beneath our feet is what we can call the habitable zone. In this top layer, humanity maintains absolute control. We carve out the rock and repurpose it for our own utility, shelter, and history. At 66 feet below the surface, the underground acts as a massive vault. The Paris catacombs sit right at this depth, holding the carefully arranged remains of more than 6 million people beneath the modern streets. Pushing deeper allows us to bypass surface congestion completely. If you step off a train in Kiev and look at the gold lettering on the tiled walls, you're standing in the Arsenala metro station, operating effortlessly 346 feet below ground. At 377 feet down, we've even managed to reroute entire international borders. The Channel Tunnel connects the United Kingdom with France under the sea, allowing millions of people to cross between nations entirely within the bedrock. Within this top 1,000 feet, the underground is completely tamed. We force fresh air down the shafts, install electric lighting, and treat this space as a heavily reinforced, climate-controlled extension of our surface cities. But as we cross the 1,000-foot threshold, the environment changes. The Earth stops being a convenient shelter and actively resists human intrusion. The danger of operating in this zone became a global spectacle in 2010. 33 Chilean miners found themselves trapped deep inside the San Jose copper and gold mine. They survived in the dark for 69 days at a depth of 2,297 feet before a massive rescue operation pulled them to the surface. Despite the risks, our search for resources pushes us even deeper. If we drop past the 10,000-foot mark, we arrive at the deepest human destination in the world, the massive mining complexes of South Africa, like the TauTona mine. The single-shaft elevator ride to the bottom alone takes 4.5 minutes. This diagram maps our depth against ambient heat. By the time we pass 10,000 feet, the immense pressure of the rock causes the surrounding temperature to spike to a lethal 151 degrees Fahrenheit. At these depths, human survival is entirely artificial. A human body cannot physically withstand that heat. We only exist down here for brief shifts by relying entirely on massive, highly vulnerable cooling infrastructure, pumping chilled air from the surface. Continuing downward, we pass the depth of the Mariana Trench, about 36,000 feet, which is the absolute floor of the ocean. Down here, we enter a purely mechanical realm. The human body is completely incapable of following, so we send our machines. The ultimate test of this machinery was a Soviet project known as the Kola Super Deep Borehole. Their goal was straightforward: drill a 9-inch wide hole straight down, piercing directly through the Earth's crust as far as physically possible. Today, the site of that monumental project is nothing but dilapidated concrete and rusted metal. It is a completely abandoned ruin. This cross-section shows exactly why the operation failed. When the drill reached 40,355 feet, the ambient temperature hit 356 degrees Fahrenheit. At that heat, bedrock behaves more like warm, viscous plastic. The heat literally melted the drill bits and warped the hole shut. The Kola borehole and the few modern oil wells that have slightly surpassed it represent a hard technological choke point. We didn't stop drilling because we ran out of money or interest. We stopped because the planet physically refused to let our steel pass. This scale model visualizes our absolute limit. The deepest artificial hole on Earth reaches 40,600 feet. To picture that, imagine stacking 15 Burj Khalifas, the tallest building in the world, end to end, descending straight into the ground. But zooming out reveals the true scale of our efforts. That massive 15 skyscraper-long column of steel only pierces about 1/3 of the way through the Earth's crust, which is just the thinnest outer shell of the planet. Beneath that tiny scratch lies the entirety of the massive, untouched mantle. Humanity spends billions developing advanced technology to conquer the stars, constantly looking outward at the infinite vacuum of space. But our most absolute physical barrier is directly beneath our boots. We live on top of an impenetrable fortress, permanently marooned on the surface.